Hello, greetings. So this is going to be a Gorean topic. And I have touched on this topic before, basically rude slaves. But I felt like discussing it again, and I don't mean to discuss slaves too much in these videos, because I feel that basically slaves are being discussed more than enough within the Gorean subculture, because that's apparently our image. Slaves, 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 it's all it's about. At least according to quite a few people, but every so often there's a topic that needs discussion. And this is not so much a discussion about rude slaves, it's a discussion of hypocrisy. And I do not like hypocrisy. Now, basically, something happened in a discussion yesterday that happens very often. I disagreed with somebody who identifies as a slave. And then she just went ballistic, calling me a liar, insulting my house, going completely ballistic. And when people then told her, this is not how a slave addresses the free, she of course went, oh no, but she didn't have to respect me because free didn't do that. And this is a very, 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 very typical reaction by quite a few slaves. I don't have to be subservient to person A and B because they don't agree with me, so they are mean, so I don't have to be polite to them. Ah! And this is bullshit. And it is a growing problem in our community. Now, for those of you that might just be have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to the Gorean lifestyle. Basically, unlike in BDSM, Goreans believe that a slave is submissive towards all free. Now, of course, in the books, they obey about anything free says. This doesn't work like that in reality because, well, we don't have helpful little aliens that come and give us shots that makes us heal a broken bone in 3 days and make us basically immune to illness. So there's a lot of things to consider. But generally speaking, it is etiquette that when a Gorean slave speaks to a free person, they refer to him or her as master and mistress, and they act in a very polite, subservient way. Because within the Gorean lifestyle, slave is not just something that you are within the confines of your relationship, it is your status within the community. So that it is expected that you will behave that way. You are below the rank of every free person. Now, I've been a slave, and some of the hardest things to do when you're a slave is to be polite to complete assholes. And a lot of people, they can't handle this. So, I mean, I see it so much, not just towards me. I mean, yeah, sure, I get into conflict with a few people now and again, but most of the time, people like me. But I see it again and again and again and again and again, slaves that are incredibly rude to free that disagree with them. If they don't get patted on the head and told what a nice and beautiful and pretty Kajiri they are, they just go berserk, especially if that free is somewhat sharp in what they say to them. And usually then the excuse is this, either I don't need to respect you because you don't behave in a Gorean way, and neither is you. I don't need to respect you because you're mean and Gorean free aren't mean. Or any of these other excuses that sort of says, no, I'm completely behaving politely to all free, but you're an exception, except it then usually are at all free. are an exception. Now, in and of itself, I don't have a problem if someone say, you know what, me and my master, we do like the Gorean concept and we consider ourselves to be Gorean, but this aspect of Goreanism, this aspect of a slave having to show deference to all three, we don't like that. We have not included that in the way we are Gorean. Okay, fine, by all means. Now, then of course you have to accept that quite a few Goreans will look down on your master for that. But fine, I don't necessarily look down on somebody for that either if they are open and honest about it and say that, oh well, this is a part of it that I don't agree with. It's just like I don't usually cover up. But a few people feel that free women should cover up. I don't feel that that's necessary. I don't feel that that have anything to do with the philosophy. So I'll show boob and I'll wear spiky chokers and I'll dress in a way that would give people on the planet of Gore a heart attack. But, so I'm completely okay with it. But the problem is that there's a lot of these people, they don't admit that. They say, oh no, I act in a completely Gorean way. They even criticize people who behave in a way they don't feel is Gorean. And then they still cherry pick out this element because it doesn't suit them that there and then, and they rather want to be butthurt than to actually act in the way they say they do. And that's hypocrisy. And if there's something that really makes me annoyed, it's hypocrisy. So yeah, if there's one thing that'll going to get me to not consider a free person up here, not consider them to be honorable Goreans if they allow their slaves to go around and be hypocrites. So here's the thing. When I was a slave, I was regular poster on a forum called Color Me. It's gone now, but it had a quite active Gorean community for a while. Now, one of the posters there was the biggest ass hat you could possibly imagine. And I mean, he's the kind of guy that went around and gave Goreans a bad name. Because he was the most rude asshole to any woman on the forum. And I'm not just talking Goreans. No. Every woman on the forum, he went into it was set up with you had the Gorean board, you had a general board, and all sorts of boards. He went into basically the femdom board and just was rude to everybody, and he was the type of person that makes Goreans seem like raving misogynists. I can't talk to them. Misogynists. That's better. So yeah, and quite a few times I got into a spat with this guy. I have a sharp tongue. I told him exactly what I felt about him, but then eventually me and my at that time Dom decided that we would become Gorean, or rather he decided, and he asked me if I would be his slave, and I agreed. I became his Kajiri. And one of the first orders he gave me was, you're going to go to this dude, this guy that you really hate, and you're going to apologize for arguing with him. Do you have any idea how hard that was? To go to this guy that I did not respect whatsoever. And I mean, it wasn't like my master respected this guy. He would tell him exactly what he was made of quite a few times, but because I was a slave and this man recognized himself as free, I owed him that. So I apologized meekly. And I mean, there were so many discussions where, I felt that the free were completely wrong, or they behaved in a way that I did not approve of, and often that my master did not approve of. And it was so hard to be subservient and when they told me to shut up, say, yes, master. And then I was allowed to basically present my views, but to do so in a very careful, very polite manner. Even when they did things that I felt was wrong, and even when they treated me in ways that I felt was unjust. For example, there was this time when there's this girl on the forum, and she could be quite a bitch, and she had cast so much shit on me, and then she started to insult my master, and I got into argument with her, and then one of the three basically chastised both of us. And I felt so incredibly unfairly treated because she started it. But you know what I did? I said, yes, master. Because that was my place. Because I claimed to be behaving by that Gorean custom that I, when I was a slave, was below all three in rank. Same with this woman that sort of always mixed together role-playing and real life. And she said so much things that were so stupid. And yet, I couldn't tell her that if I protested, I have to do it in a very, very polite way. And I mean, at one point, she said something when she just went on an attack on people with autism and Asperger's. A complete, utter attack. And it was so wrong. And I said, mistress, may I protest? May I present my views? And she said no, and all I could say was, yes, mistress. Now, I know that my master later talked to her, and he defended people with Asperger's and autism, but even if I felt she was so wrong, even if I did not personally respect this woman, I had to behave in a subservient way towards her. And I can tell you about another tale that this didn't include me, but it was another slave girl on the forum. She got into an argument with a free person, and he was wrong. Absolutely. He did not behave in an honorable way. He was a piece of shit. And yet she argumented with him, and then her master came onto the forum. He apologized for his slave's behavior and said, well, she has now been beaten, so I doubt she'll sit in 3 weeks. And she has also gotten, I think it was a month or so, off where she is not allowed to go use the internet whatsoever. He said no, he did definitely agree with her point of view. He did not respect that free, but it was not his slave's place to behave in such a way. And having that sort of subservience is hard. Basically just saying, yes, master, yes, mistress, when you feel that you're so unfairly treated, that's hard. And I mean, when I was freed, I think that one of the first things I said was, okay, I feel kind of crap about now being free, but it also feels so incredibly good to be able to tell people where they can shove their stupid opinions. And the problem is, you cannot have it both ways. If you want to be respected as a Kajiri, or basically be accepted as a Kajiri, and especially if you want to get onto your high horse and say, no, I'm Gorean, but you guys aren't behaving Gorean enough, then you shut the fuck up and be polite to the free. And of course, one common argument when I say this is, yeah, but it's so dangerous. This isn't Gorm, yam. If somebody says that they want to have sex with you or give me all your money, you can't expect it to obey that. Nobody has told you to do that. There's a bit of a difference between jumping into bed with somebody who asked you that, or sell your house and give them all their money because they order it so, and being polite. I mean, it might be me and my strange Norwegian ways, but polite, unprotected sex, polite, giving away all your money, seem to be some difference to me. Of course, use your mind. Some orders are completely unreasonable because this isn't Gore. We don't live on Gore. We don't fly around on tarns. We don't, like I said, we don't have the stabilizer serums that generally protect us from all illnesses. We don't have those things. It would be great if we did. We don't. And slaves also have a different position here because often slaves own property, often slaves have jobs and money of their own. They are in a very different situation than on Gore. So you have to use some bounds of reason. But that doesn't mean that when a slave is impolite to you, when a free person is, in your mind, impolite to you, that you should be allowed to be impolite to them. There's a difference here. Now, let me try to explain it by this situation. I'm not going to say names because I'm not going to just slander somebody who can't defend themselves. But basically, it was this slave girl that felt that I had been too strict with somebody who came into the forum because that person basically showed no respect to the Gorean lifestyle whatsoever. Basically calling us BDSM trekkies and being purposefully dense. And I called her out on that. Now, this slave girl did not like another one. So she called me a bully, she called me a liar, she went on and on and on and on and on. And eventually went completely ballistic. And when people said, you shouldn't behave that way towards a free person, she of course went, oh no, but I had said and so and so. And here's the thing. I protested. I don't think it was a bully. I didn't call that person anything. But even if I had been the most cruel bastard to this person, it is not the place of a slave to go in and defend another slave attacking a free person. It doesn't matter if she doesn't like me. It is not necessary to like a free person. And I don't really mean this to be a bitching. It's not meant to be a bitching video. It's more that I see it again and again and again, and not towards me, but towards a lot of free persons. This excuse that, yes, but that free person has not behaved in a way I, the slave, consider to be honorable. Yeah, but here, it's not you, the slave's job, to determine whether or not somebody's honorable. Basically, I think a girl that, I can't remember her name, she has a blog, said it best. Even if you sit down beside a Nazi pedophile, that the most horrible person in the universe, that consider themselves to be a Gorean free, you are going to be polite. Don't be honest, if you think that they have broken the law, call the police on them, but you will address them as master. You will act in a subservient, pleasing manner. There are no loopholes. Now, of course, like I said, if you say, I don't think that, Now, like I said, if you decide, or your master decide, that this part of the Gorean lifestyle, the idea that slaves are slaves to everybody within the community, not that they have to obey everybody in the community blindly, but that they owe politeness and subservience to everybody in the community that are free. If you decide that's not part of what you want to do, then by all means, inform the person you're talking with. We do not practice that. I do not believe that that part is a core element of being Gorean. It is a very common part that most practice, that most have a part of it. Especially since freedom is put so high in the philosophy. But it is not a core element. I don't have a problem if you decide not to use that. Now that means that many will not consider this slave as a slave, but it's completely fine by me. And by a lot of other Goreans too, but then be open and honest about that, saying, oh, well, this part of the Gorean philosophy, we have a Gorean practice. Really, it's not really that much part of the philosophy, it's a part of the practice. We have decided not to include in our lives. That's fine, but then you don't have the right to criticize others that have not included every part in their lives. You don't get the right to then say, oh, I am a Kajiri. I am better than a BDSM slave because Kajiras is submissive to everybody. And then not be submissive. You can't have the cake and eat it too. Either say, yes, this is not a part we have included, we don't agree with it, it is not part of how we are Gorean. Accept that some people will react negatively to that, but practice that, completely fine. If somebody said that, I would treat such a slave as I would everybody else. And expect nothing more and nothing less from that slave than everybody else. But as a free woman, if somebody has not excluded the idea that a slave is subservient to all free, I do expect politeness from a slave. So don't try to find some loophole. Don't say, oh, it really sucks to be submissive right now. I feel unfairly treated by this free person. So I'll just decide that no, that free person isn't acting in a way that I approve of, so therefore it doesn't count. I can behave in any way I want. Because that's being a hypocrite. And being a hypocrite, that is against the core elements of being Gorean. And it dishonors you, and it dishonors your master. So don't do that. If you have such a big problem with sucking it up and being polite to somebody you do not like, if they are free, then talk with your master. You might decide that that's not a thing that you want to have as part of your life. Say that this is too hard for me. I want to be a slave only to my master. And I don't want to have that thing there as part of being Gorean. Then by all means do that. Some will then not consider you Gorean, but by all means you can do that if that makes you if it works better for you. But if you have it that's part of the way you practice Goreanism, then practice it, even when it's hard. So when the big bad free woman or the big bad free man that says something that you don't agree with, when they say something to somebody else that you don't agree with, when that free person treats you in a way that you feel is wrong or you feel unfairly treated, suck it up. Say yes, master, yes, mistress. Or if you are not able to be polite, leave that conversation and behave as what you claim to be, a slave. There are no loopholes. And looking for loopholes, that's just hypocritical. Yes, sometimes when you're a slave, you're going to encounter things that you don't agree with. You are going to be told to shut up when all you want to do is defend your point of view. You are going to have to behave politely to people you think are honorless dogs. You are going to get your ass beaten red and blue for basically talking negatively to somebody that definitely deserves it. That's all part of being a slave. Being a slave is not just sitting on a pedestal and smiling and nodding and being told that you are so pretty. Nothing in life is free, and part of the payment for the choice of slavery is that you have a low social status within the Gorean community. You are property, and people are going to talk, free people are going to talk to you as they please. If a free person decides to treat you with respect, that's their choice. It is not your choice. Being a slave is not about fairness. It is quite simply that. I, as a free woman, can choose to treat you as shit. Let this sink in. Take a deep breath, and before you hit the unsubscribe button or type up something to tell me what an idiot I am, take a deep breath and let this sink in. You are a slave. Now, mostly I treat everybody the same way. I treat people with dignity and respect. But that's my choice. And if I choose to treat you with respect as a slave, that's my gift to you. It is not something you can demand of me. It is not your choice. It is my gift to you. I can choose to treat you horribly. I can be as unfair, impolite, bullying, berating, and rude as I desire. Of course, some groups and forums have rules against that, but in essence, I can talk to you exactly how I please. Because you are a beast, an animal, a slave. You, on the other hand, have to treat me as a free person with respect and subservience. That's part of being a slave. If you cannot accept that, if you think that that's so unfair, that's so horrible, no free person would do that, then you might not be cut out for slavery. Being a slave has nothing to do with fairness. Life is not fair. Every time a free person is nice to you, it's their gift to you, while you owe them respect in return. I can tell you the most horrible things, tell you to shut up and just take it, and your response is, yes, mistress. No matter how cruel it feels, no matter how undignified it feels, no matter how unjust it feels, because that's part of being a slave. And what you cannot do then, if you have that as part of your lifestyle, if you have accepted the idea that you are subservient to all free, what you then cannot do is say, oh, but you're treating me in a way that I do not approve of. Therefore, you are not free, or therefore you don't deserve me to be respectful to you. No, you're a slave. You are property. You are not owed respect. If somebody shows you respect, it is a gift, not their duty to you. So either A, respect that, accept it, and behave as what you are. B, decide that is not something that you can live with, and don't have that as part of your lifestyle, with the consequences that will have of perhaps not being seen as a Kajiri by everybody, but I would see you as a Kajiri anyway, but some might not. But be open and honest about you not having that as part of it. Or C, decide being a slave is not for you, and be free. Those are your three choices. Gore is not fair, live with it. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a great day, blessed be, and be well.